Today's video involves blood and guts, so if that is not your thing, by all means we understand and we'll see you on the next one. We've got some really fun improvements planned for our run, some things that we think the chickens are going to enjoy and that's going to make things look really cool for the summer. But if you're interested in chicken processing, if you're new to it, like I am, and you want to learn from someone else's mistakes, like me, then this might be a video for you to tune into. I definitely make some mistakes in this video. I'm definitely learning. It's the first time I've processed them in this particular way. So might be a good thing for anybody who's planning to do it to watch. If you're experienced and you want a good laugh, then it might be for you as well. I watch these videos and try to learn how other people do this processing, but sometimes when you watch from people who are really good at things and they just do such a good job right from the start, they just make it look so easy. And I don't know, sometimes I think it's really helpful to watch somebody who is new also and has some tips for you or tricks that might help. So that's what today's video is about, processing roosters. Good morning. Today is rooster processing day. We have way too many roosters. They tend to throw off the balance of our flock big time. They're really expensive to feed. They don't add anything. Like hens, we feed them, there's costs, but they give us eggs, not roosters. We typically just want to keep one in our little flock. And so right now I believe we have something like 6 or 7 too many. So we're doing this early in the morning, or catching them early in the morning before they've been fed, so that way crops are empty, digestive systems are hopefully fairly emptied out, and it's just more convenient that way. So yep, you're going bye-bye. So harvesting roosters is just part of having chickens, and we are definitely going to be eating them. So we're going to get those rounded up, put in this temporary dog crate, and then I can let the rest of them out and feed them. All right, now let's see if I can catch these roosters. I know 2 over here. 1, 2. 3, 4. All right, let's get you guys fed before I let the rest of the flock out. The method we're using today to process these roosters, different from what we've done before, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning experience for us. So this is the Kitchener Chicken Plucker. It has 800 and something reviews on Amazon and got 4.5 stars out of all those reviews, so pretty good. A couple of things that I can speak to already on it. There were some comments that it was difficult to assemble. I didn't find that to be the case. The top and the legs and the wheels were packed inside the tub. I think what confused some folks was that the top was flipped upside down for packing purposes. And they talked about having to disassemble the whole top in order to get that out. I didn't find that to be the case. I just took the top that was upside down, turned it 180 degrees, and just slid it right through all those fingers, no problem. Has one bolt that holds the bottom in place, bolt the legs and wheels on, piece of cake. Anybody can figure that out. A couple of thoughts about chickens. Chickens are monogastric animals, so they just have the one stomach. Unlike ruminants, like cows that have several stomachs and they ferment, that go through that fermentation, speaking of the cow in the background, go through that fermentation process. Of course, we want to raise our animals as cleanly as possible, but I've even read that ruminants like cows can consume toxic substances And because of that fermentation, that rumination process that they go through, that only trace amounts of it gets passed through to their meat. Unlike monogastric animals like chickens and pigs, where they just have one stomach, what they eat is what gets passed on to their meat. And so raising our own meat birds and consuming chicken that we've raised and we know what they've consumed and what they've not consumed is something that's important to us. And so being able to process our chickens is part of our long-term plan. So the investment hopefully should be worth it. Another comment that I read that I'm curious to find out about was some folks said that Cornish cross meat birds, for example, that have like a low feather count processed very well through this plucker. But some people said that heritage breeds like Barred Rocks and some of the others like what we're going to process, the feather count is high and they get clogged up pretty badly. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but I'm going to be curious to find out. So we'll see how this goes.
By the way, if I haven't mentioned it already, this is definitely not a how-to video. There's plenty of good ones out there. I'll just share a few things that we noticed worked well and a few things I will do differently next time. The water here was about 135 degrees. 1 minute wasn't quite long enough, so we experimented. We did 1:30 and 2 minutes. Something between 1:30 and 2 minutes seemed about right for these birds. We didn't notice any burning of skin or cooking of the meat at that time frame. Next up is the plucker. My overall impression is that it does a good job. The birds do get hung up once in a while, but fortunately there's nothing sharp or dangerous in the tub, so you can just grab them and get them spinning again. We only did one at a time, and I kind of think doing a couple would have been better because they could pinball off of each other and keep moving a little bit better. Anyway, something to experiment with next time. I only had to clear clogged feathers one time. It was the longer wing feathers, and they cleared out easily. The trick seems to be to keep the water flowing, and it seems to do pretty well. We didn't drill holes in our discharge bucket, which would have made this a lot easier because it fills up fast and you have to keep dumping the water out. The results seem to vary by bird, and it kind of seems like their breed made a little difference. Some just had thicker feathers than others. I also wonder if how skinny they are made some difference. Anyway, removing a few feathers by hand wasn't a big deal to us, so we were pretty happy with the results. The actual processing of the carcass was probably the most challenging part for me. Finding the joint between the leg and the foot was easy, got those cut off no problem. This knife that I was using I thought it was sharp, but it was not nearly as sharp as I needed it to be. So that would be the biggest takeaway from this, is I needed a sharper knife to do this work. But cutting through the skin there to get to the esophagus or the windpipe was a little bit of a challenge, but you can see the windpipe coming right out and being able to remove that. Transitioning over then to the rear of the bird. Now this preen gland was really difficult for me. I tried to process it the way I had seen in the videos and from the tail forward. That was kind of difficult. So I just did the best that I could, but honestly, I think I got it a couple of times in the wrong spot. But removing that preen gland was a bit of a challenge. Now, opening up the abdominal cavity was also a little bit of a difficulty. You got to make sure that you pierce through the skin, push the guts in without cutting through any of the intestines or organs or anything. And I'm pretty sure that I cut through the intestines one time. I chalked that up to the knife not being sharp enough because I was having to push harder than I really wanted to, and it went all the way through and got the intestine as well and contaminated the inside of that bird. So at this point, I'm just kind of trying to open this up a little bit without really trying to use that knife. Again, I just need a sharper knife to be able to open that cavity up better. But once you open it up, you can get your hand in there and you can remove those organs without too much difficulty. Cleanup of the plucker is an easy process. The tub comes off with 4 clasps. It's light and easy to handle. So we hosed it down, pulled out any stuck feathers, and stored it away. Packaging the birds in the heat shrink bags was new to us as well. We dried them off as well as we could first. I really don't know how necessary it is to do that. And we dipped them in the 190 to 5-degree water. To seal them, we tried three methods. We used the enclosed straw to allow the air to escape as the bag shrank. We made a small perforation to allow the air to escape. I don't recommend that at all. There was no chance for a vacuum seal at that point. And the method I liked the most was just squeezing the air out by hand and closing off the zip tie once I was satisfied most of the air was removed. That's how I'll be doing it going forward. We like the heat shrink bags a lot and plan to use them again in the future. We're definitely satisfied with the results. These will feed us for a few meals, and culling them from our flock will lower our feed costs. We've already noticed a much more peaceful flock as well. It's a lot of work, but it sure makes us appreciate our food, and we're grateful to know that no matter what happens in this crazy world, we can feed our family. Thanks so much for following along, and hope you have a great week.